Welcome to Contractors Chronicles. I'm Femi Sturgeon, sharing the raw and real journey of navigating the home services industry. No fluff, just the ups and downs of building a business from the ground up. If you're a blue-collar worker, business owner or contractor, this is your go-to spot. Join the conversation, I'll comment and share your stories, and let's grow this community together.
Fellow entrepreneurs, growing a business can be damn challenging. So I was so frustrated where I was a couple of years ago, where I started this contracting business, and I really thought it would take on a different pathway, but it didn't. And that's what happens in business. It doesn't. So I hit a road, a dead end, and I was like, what am I going to do now? I've got these people working for me. I've got people dependent on me, and I needed to just spend some time on my own to rethink this journey. And I broke away to my little holiday cottage on the Breda River, and I just had some time by myself, listening to some awesome content out there that inspires me and people that I look up to. And it just dawned on me while I was walking in the bush. I was just thinking, you know what? You're just not living your true potential. And in order to create a successful business, you need to grow mentally, spiritually, and as a leader. And how do you do that? Well, you just can't sit back and wait for things to happen. In my view, I had to step up my game. So one of my big philosophies in life is creating the vacuum and then filling it. Creating the vacuum and then filling it. And I wasn't doing that. I was paralyzed by fear. Fear because I've been a successful business coach for many, many years, and I've had incredible results with my clients. And one day my stepdad said to me, he says, my boy, you're doing so well for others. What are you doing for yourself? And I realized that this was a journey for me, helping entrepreneurs grow. And it's time for me to start my own venture. And I got into contracting. Out of all games, I've never been into contracting before, but I believed in a certain system that we use on flat roofs, and it started that way, and it grew. And then I hit this dead end, as businesses do, as leaders do, as the challenges present themselves being an entrepreneur. And that's what happened with me. It just hit a dead end, and I realized I needed to grow as a leader. So creating the vacuum for me is creating a bigger vision, because I work towards that. You know, creating a bigger vision for our company is now, it's no longer Waterproof Lab, it's now LabWorks. And under LabWorks, we've got a pool company that was launched a year ago. We've got a roofing company that was launched a year ago. And we've still got our waterproofing division. And they're all working in synergy because they cross-refer, and we're using the same systems throughout each of those businesses. But don't let me make it sound like it was easy. It was challenging, because after that vision, I realized, I've got to put that vision down very specifically for my team. And because I was going nowhere, and my team was seeing it in me. They were saying, listen, we're just killing fires, and we're just carrying on doing the same thing every day. And I needed to put myself out there. So when this vision was born about creating one of the biggest and best contracting companies in the home services industry space, I realized there's a lot to be done. And I need to tell my team what the 3-year plan will look like. Not 5 years from now, not 2 years, but 3 years, because it's kind of achievable. And that's what I did. I put it down on paper. I made it bound nicely. I outsourced the binding to a decent printer, and I delivered what I called the Lab Manifesto to my team. And since then, we've been going gango. I mean, one of the visions that we created was, and this is what I'm saying about growing a business, is it's no longer in my control. I've handed it over to my team. My team understand it, and they're running with it. And it's not easy, and we make a lot of mistakes. And those who don't appreciate those mistakes will probably fall off the wagon, and they won't join us. They won't be there for the spoils either. But I've handed that vision over to my team. My team's running with it. One of the visions is that we rent a premises in an office park here in South Africa, in Cape Town. Very nice office park. And one of my visions was to create a wing, in other words, taking over the wing as it becomes available to expand the business because we need more people. And the little area that we were operating in was a mere, I think, 150 square meters. It was tiny, what we did from there for so many years. And then when this opportunity presented itself, I decided to jump at it. I said, let's go for it. But what about cash flow? Doesn't matter. Let's go for it. We'll figure it out. Let's create the vacuum and then fill it. Let's create the vacuum by setting down that big challenge for us. And let's figure out how to get there. And before you know it, we've figured it out. So another example might be where I've created it for my life, and I continuously do it, is these podcasts. To do these podcasts is absolutely challenging for most entrepreneurs and for most people. I know for myself, I'm thinking, gosh, I've got to think about content. I've got to think about lighting. I've got to think about my time. I've got to think about the audience. I've got to think about my hair. I've got to think about what do these look like? And putting myself out there consistently is not easy to do. And my wife said it to me the other day. She says she doesn't understand how I do it. Again, guys, it's living the philosophies that I've built over the last couple of years, or the many years that I've been in business coaching and building businesses, is that I need to start eating my cooking. And growing a coaching business, it's great coaching entrepreneurs, but there are not many coaches out there that are building businesses and coaching at the same time. And that's what I'm doing. I'm building a business and I'm coaching entrepreneurs. No matter who you are, I have certain philosophies I can help my clients with. And I'm starting to apply it congruently, which I find helps me in my business to become a better leader. And one of them is creating the vacuum and filling it. Because I was held to task. You know, I had one of my colleagues come to me and say to me, Themi, because I was so frustrated. I was like, yeah, but you know, we're not growing and we should be growing and we're the leads and you know, what about a bigger team? And he said, well, he remembers a good coach that said, we got to create the vacuum and then fill it. Create the vacuum and then fill it. I just said, you know, it's so right. Enough of this. Enough of sitting on the fence. Enough of staring fear in the face until I'm blind. It's really just like, no, it's stepping out and growing this business and holding myself accountable to a very high degree is huge for me, because I've told it to the team, I've told it to the investors that are in my business, I've mentioned it to the suppliers that supply us with stock. I've mentioned it to the people that are buying from us. This is what LabWorks is doing. We're into pools, roofing, and waterproofing, and we're going to grow it to be one of the biggest companies in the world. We'll start with Cape Town, and then we'll start at Western Cape, and then we'll start with South Africa, and that's how we'll grow it. And I'm holding myself accountable, but the vision is working on its own. Right now, my team are applying that vision in the business. And decisions are being made in line with that vision. So guys, building a business, not for sissies, because there's a certain way of thinking I realized. For me to take my business to the next level, I need to work on my thinking far more. I need to think about what the 20% are doing that are successful, those entrepreneurs that are getting 80% of the results out there. What are they doing? What are they thinking like? What are they eating? Who are they hanging around with? What are their philosophies? What are their rituals? And talking about vision, you know, I was watching a video recently, the Jake Paul, Mike Tyson fight that's coming up shortly. And for those who are listening to this video on YouTube or on iTunes, the fight might be over. But there was a learning in that interview where Jake Paul and Mike Tyson were interviewed. And one of the questions that the interviewer asked Mike Tyson was, what do you think is going to happen on the day of the fight? And you could see the conviction in his mind. He says, I'm going to knock out my opponent. Now they both, in all fair respect, have the same thing. I'm a big fan of mixed martial arts because I love the mindset of these individuals. They're putting themselves out there to the biggest degree. They're risking injury, they're risking reputation, they're risking ego. And then they shake hands afterwards. Gentlemen. But what are their mindsets like? That, in that interview with Mike Tyson, I could see he had made up his mind. Whether he wins or not, that's not the point. He is going to give it his best. And he's convinced himself. There's a little chapter in his mind, a little book in his mind that he's opened. He says, right, guys, it's fight time. And I'm going to open up that little corridor, that door to this corridor, which is the mindset, which is the intention of, like, I'm going to win this fight. And most successful entrepreneurs have that kind of belief. And I have it. Creating the vacuum and believing that my team's going to fill it is being able to master that process. So, fellow entrepreneurs, if you're sitting on the fence, don't sit on the fence. It doesn't work. Sit on the fence for a little while and then get off it and make things happen for your life. If you're sitting in a career, you want to build your own business, fear can paralyze you. It paralyzed me for years. Even after I've coached hundreds of successful, if not thousands of successful entrepreneurs in group settings. To grow your own business is challenging to the biggest degree, but the rewards are great. And it's not about how hard you fall. It's how quick you can get up being an entrepreneur. Listen to the previous podcasts. I'll talk more about that in a bit more detail, but in the future podcasts, I'd like to share more philosophies about how entrepreneurs think, and specifically what I found out there. Like, for instance, with that Mike Tyson interview, you could see that conviction, bringing that conviction into my life and into my business, saying, you know what? I have that conviction that we are going to build an amazing company. We're going to create a legacy. We're going to stand out. We're going to stand out above head-out from other contractors out there because we are building something significant. And those that are joining us are going to benefit. And those who decide to jump off the bus because it's not for them, guys, I've also gone through a lot of spiritual, how can I put it, spiritual growth over the last couple of years, specifically the last year when my father died in January this year. And he was a very, very close mentor and best friend of mine. And it really made me think about a lot of things in life. And I'm not worried anymore. The universe it's set out there. As long as my intention's right, as long as it's set, and I've decided that's where I'm going, and I've pulled that trigger, I've created the vacuum, now my job is to fill it. And once I've filled it, I'm going to create the vacuum again. Am I going to fall? I'm going to fall hard. Am I going to have people criticizing the way my hair looks? My settings, the dogs barking in the background, putting myself out there. They're going to criticize me to the end. I don't care because I know what I want to achieve and I'm focused on achieving it. And I'll do what I have to do to make sure that I build this business so that I can leave a legacy for the people that are working in it, for the customers that are buying from us, and for my family. Guys, if you like this podcast, please like and share this with like-minded individuals. Don't be selfish. Make sure other people benefit from this. We're trying to grow a community that's going to interact with us and live, and hopefully you making a difference by taking something home from what we're talking about in these weekly sessions. And if there's anything else you want me to discuss, drop it in the comments, and looking forward to catching up with you.